Hi, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm Sharad Kutan. With me, Dato Seri Ti Lian Ker. He's the Vice President of MCA and also a member of the Senate, or the Dewan Negara as we call it. Let's talk about MCA, the party. How do you plan to rejuvenate the party to the extent that it could achieve electoral success? Because it does seem important in a coalition that a party has representatives, at least, either in the state or federal assemblies, in order to push its own agenda.
Ultimately, as a political party, we must win an election for us to be relevant. At this point of time, we are at the lowest. But MCA, as a structure, as a party, as an organization, we are very much relevant. We are there on the grassroots. Whenever there are issues, there are problems, we have our outreach. And even in certain areas, DAP cannot even find local councillors. They have to approach MCAs because they do not have that content on the ground. So coming back to MCA, MCA is an institution. We work, we serve, we have done our very best. And if we cannot get any votes, then something is wrong somewhere. That's why we have to do some soul searching.
What is it, do you think, especially the Chinese community, but not exclusively the Chinese community, because that's not how constituencies are made up. What message does MCA have to bring or create in order to get the votes back? What is it that you weren't doing right, as it were, before?
Basically, it's not that we are not doing right. What we were doing is we were so caught up with servicing the community. We are so caught up with their problem, and Chinese community, their expectation and their demand is very high. So we don't make promises, and DAP make promises. So what is happening now, we just have to give time, because the Chinese community, they have made a decision, 90%, they wanted a change. Basically, that is what have driven them to support DAP. But they are not DAP loyalists or supporters. So we just have to give them time to see that what was promised was not delivered. DAP promised to do away with the Bumiputra, non-Bumiputra distinction. But what happened today, we have an institutionalized Minister of Bumiputra Economic Affairs, without mentioning Bumiputra.
You're talking about Azmin Ali's portfolio.
Without mentioning. But in reality, in politically, that has been conceptualized. So what is the point of having a finance minister when we are not controlling the economy? So that is one. The other thing is the local government election. DAP promised that. I think that is what many Chinese traders want, because by having a chance to vote for the local government officers, etc., then they won't be subjected to being bullied or being harassed, etc. I think that goes very well for them.
But so, is the MCA promising to deliver precisely those things? Is it promising to deliver local council elections? Is it promising to do away with the Bumiputra, non-Bumiputra distinction?
It's not about our promise. It is what I'm saying, what attracts DAP, what attracts the Chinese community votes away from us. So now, putting an apple and an orange, now apple and apple together, then they may gauge who is the actual, which is the actual political party that delivers, walk their talk, and do things sincerely and genuinely, and which party promises empty promises, but actually doing something else, the opposite.
So what would you counsel to the Chinese voter? Be pragmatic. Do not expect that this distinction between Bumiputra and non-Bumiputra will be done away with in the foreseeable future. Do not expect local government elections, because that's something that UMNO or the Malay parties in Pakatan also don't want. What is it that is the reality check for the Chinese community?
MCA has always exerted, actually even in the past, somewhere in the 80s, we have prepared papers by our think tank INSAP. That time was Michael Yeo, Tan Sri Michael Yeo, Paul Yong. They were talking about it is time for the affirmative action based on needs and not race. We have always said that. But to be able to do so, if today we have a 42 member of parliament and the Prime Minister have only 12 member of parliament, I think MCA will insist that we have to walk our talk.
So that's the number of DAP to Bersatu.
Yeah, that is, we are talking of numbers. During our time, MCA is so weak, whereas the Prime Minister's party, UMNO, is so powerful and strong. So they can just disregard and walk over you because they don't need your numbers. And we have to continue to be there, despite the fact that after May 13, MCA refused to join Barisan Nasional. But it was on the calling of the guilds and associations, on the traders, etc. They wanted MCA to go in to be the bridge for the Chinese community. So we went in not because we want to be the minister, but we went in based on the voices, on the demand of the Chinese community associations. So we are very much intact. And we work closely with the guilds and associations, the Chinese chambers, etc. So that was then. And today what has happening is the guilds and associations, the Chinese chambers, they are not as powerful as before. So by satisfying what they want does not cover the demand on the ground. So MCA got to walk out of these pillars of support, and we have to reach out to young minds, young voters, and because they are more open-minded.
And what do you think they want?
Basically, to put it politically incorrectly, if I wanted to say that Chinese, basically, they are very practical when it comes to business, social, etc. So when they mix with the Malays in business, and when they mix with the Malays in the society, they think Malays are very easy to deal with. They think MCA is not doing enough. But when it comes to politics, they fail to understand Malays is a totally different political animal. So after the change, now DAP realized it's not easy to handle. In fact, everything is in the name of race now. I said you cannot because of race. Malays will go berserk. The Rome Statute, the local government, even local government, I think it is not true at all. It is not.
But Zuraida has promised a roadmap on that, hasn't she? The minister in charge of local government.
But Mahathir has said, the Prime Minister has a final say. He has said that no, the Malays will not accept that. And I don't see any rebuttal or any dissent from DAP MPs. Which in the past, Lim Kek Siang will say, what is MCA minister doing? Why are you keeping silent? But they are keeping silent.
Okay. Finally, in the half minute that we have, are you optimistic about the future, politically, at least for MCA?
I think MCA will always be there. We will be there even without seats. Ultimately, it's a question of, if it's talking about whether we wanted to follow political expediency, whether we want to play politics or we want to be a political worker, irrespective of the number of seats. The institution is there. We are very institutionalized, very entrenched, and we are an expert in the Chinese community, not playing up Chinese community spirit. Because by playing Chinese community itself, you cannot win an election. Because we are so multiracial and Malays are outnumbering the Chinese now. So MCA has always been multiracial. MCA has always been moderate. It's a matter of branding and letting people recognize the role we are playing under the very challenging environment of race and religious politics, the 2R, which we do not subscribe. But we have to go along because this is the political reality in Malaysia now.
Right. Thank you so much for being with me today. I've been speaking to Senator Ti Lian Ker from MCA. He's the Vice President there. He's also with the Dewan Negara as a Senator. This has been Let's Talk. I'm Sharad Kutan, only for Astro Awani. Thank you very much.
All right.